Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Deep Dive. We're going to be tackling a pretty interesting topic today, one that I know a lot of our listeners are thinking about, especially our technical writers and documentation experts and IT pros.
Definitely a hot topic right now.
You know, with all this buzz around AI, it's got a lot of us wondering, like, how's it going to change the way we write? Do we need to, like, completely rewrite the rule book, appease the AI overlords, as some might say?
Yeah, and I mean, some of the headlines are pretty scary, right? AI misrepresenting products, making things up if the docs aren't perfectly formatted. Sounds like a real headache.
Totally. So are we all going to have to, like, learn some secret robot language or something?
Well, thankfully, no, not really, actually. And that's actually what we're going to be diving into today with a great article called Should You Write Documentation Differently for LLMs? Not really.
Oh, it's a good title. I like that already.
Yeah, it's very reassuring. And it was written by Fabrizio Ferri-Benedetti, and it was published on January 24th, 2025 on Passo.uno. So very recent, definitely relevant.
All right. Well, so the title itself kind of gives it away. But let's dig in, right? Why shouldn't we panic? I mean, what's the core argument here?
Well, one of the most interesting points that Ferri-Benedetti makes is that this whole thing reminds him of, you remember a few years back when everyone was obsessed with SEO?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, keywords everywhere, algorithms, gaming the system.
Right.
Sometimes at the expense of actually writing something that, made sense.
Yeah. I definitely remember those days. I once wrote a product description that was so packed with keywords that it practically sounded like a robot had written it. And guess what? It didn't even work.
Exactly. And that's kind of the point. Google eventually figured out that quality content written for humans was the best approach for everyone, both for search engines and for people.
Okay, I'm seeing the parallel here. So you're saying that trying to game the system by writing specifically for AI is probably not the way to go.
Right. It's probably going to backfire, just like it did with SEO. The best approach, both for humans and for AI, is to focus on creating high-quality content. Content that's clear, accurate, and easy to understand. Just good writing, basically.
Got it. So wait, are you saying that we should just, ignore AI entirely then? Just keep writing like we always have?
Not exactly. The key takeaway here, and this is straight from the article, is to write for humans, let the AIs follow. Think about it. We want AI to understand human communication, right? Not the other way
Oh,
around.
that's a good point.
It's like we're training these systems by giving them good content to learn from, just like we teach children language through books and conversations.
Okay, so instead of trying to, contort ourselves into writing for these machines, we should just focus on creating really great content for human readers and trust that AI will eventually catch up.
Exactly. And the article actually uses this really helpful analogy. It says that LLMs are essentially a new channel for accessing information. Think of it like the mobile version of your documentation.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. So we don't need to rewrite everything from scratch. We just need to think about how to present our existing content effectively for this new AI channel. It's about packaging and presentation, not about a complete overhaul of our writing style.
So not throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
Right. And this brings up another really important point. We need to avoid this trap of thinking of all AI as simply a chatbot, obsessed with FAQs.
Oh, yeah.
Just because, chatbots use that question and answer format doesn't mean that that's the only way to present information to AI. LLMs are far more sophisticated than that. They can understand and interpret complex ideas and relationships, especially if the content is well-structured and semantically clear.
Okay, so we're not, ditching all our FAQs then, right? I mean, they do have their place.
Of course. FAQs are still valuable, especially for those, quick answers to common questions.
Huh.
But the point is, we shouldn't limit ourselves to just that one format. There's all these other great ways to present information. Knowledge base, articles, tutorials, step-by-step guides.
Right.
Each format has its own strengths, and they can all be optimized for both human readers and for AI.
Yeah, use the right tool for the job, as they say. One thing that I thought was super interesting in the article was this idea that catering to AI's needs might actually lead to improvements that benefit everyone, not just the algorithms.
That's a great point. And the article actually touches on this. It talks about accessibility specifically. If you think about it, to make information easily digestible for AI, we have to focus on clear metadata, semantic labeling, well-structured content. And guess what? All of those things also happen to make documentation more accessible for users with disabilities.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. It's like by focusing on making our content machine readable, we're actually inadvertently making it more human friendly as well.
Exactly. And this could even lead to a resurgence of interest in structured content format. Imagine a world where our documentation is so well organized and semantically rich that both humans and AI can easily navigate it and understand it. It's a pretty cool vision.
It is. All right, so I think we've established that no need to panic, no need to learn robot language, but we also can't just completely ignore AI either, right?
Right.
We need to find that sweet spot between writing for humans and optimizing for AI. But how? How do we actually do that? What are the practical steps we can take to make our documentation AI ready without sacrificing clarity and quality?
And it really makes you realize that a lot of the principles of good writing for AI actually overlap with best practices for just, accessibility, usability in general.
Okay, so let's get practical here.
Right.
How do we make our documentation AI ready? Where do we even start?
Well, one of the most important things is to focus on metadata. AI doesn't see content the same way that we do.
Right.
It relies on metadata to understand the structure and the context, the relationships between all these different pieces of information.
I'm getting that metadata is important, but it's still a little abstract for me. Like, can you give me a specific example? How would a technical writer actually use this to, like, improve their documentation for AI?
Absolutely. Let's say you're writing API documentation, for example. You could use schema.org vocabulary to tag your documentation with specific metadata about each class method parameter. This would help an LLM understand not only what each element is, but how it relates to all the other elements within the API.
So it's kind of like adding all those labels and tags behind the scenes that help AI categorize everything, makes sense of it. Like a librarian organizing books by subject and author, but on a much more granular level.
Precisely. And just like a well-organized library makes it easier for us humans to find what we're looking for, clear metadata makes it easier for AI to extract the relevant information from the documentation and, present it to the user in a way that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I get that. No more like generic file names like, document1.pdf.
Exactly. Think about your file names, your title tags, image alt text, even internal links. All of those things can be used to provide valuable metadata that helps AI understand what your content is about.
So metadata is like this hidden layer of information that we need to be paying attention to. What else can we do to make our writing more AI friendly?
Well, another crucial aspect is semantic clarity.
Okay.
This means using precise language, avoiding jargon, overly complex sentences that might confuse AI. So it's about writing in a way that's both clear for humans and easy for AI to parse. It's about finding that balance.
Yeah, natural language, but machine readable language too.
Exactly. And this is where structured content can really play a big role.
So instead of creating these big monolithic documents, we're breaking things down into smaller units that can be like assembled and reassembled.
Exactly. It's like giving LLMs a map of your documentation.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Think about how you're structuring your headings, your lists, your paragraphs. Use consistent terminology for different types of information. And remember, clarity and conciseness are key, right? AI, unlike us, doesn't have the patience to wade through pages of dense jargon-filled text.
Right.
Get to the point quickly, use simple language, break down complex concepts.
So it's almost like we're training AI to understand our writing style and voice. Right?
Yeah.
The more consistent we are, the more structured we are, the easier it's going to be for AI to learn and adapt.
Absolutely. And as you get more comfortable, you can start exploring some more advanced techniques like schema markup, for example.
Wow, this is a lot.
Yeah.
It feels like we're just scratching the surface here.
Yeah.
But before we get totally carried away with all these tools and techniques, I think it's important to remember at the end of the day, our primary audience is still humans.
You're absolutely right. And Ferri-Benedetti actually emphasizes this as well. We need to find that balance. We can't sacrifice clarity and engagement for the sake of algorithmic appeasement.
So how do we walk that tightrope? How do we make sure we're not letting the tail wag the dog, as they say?
It's a delicate dance for sure. And there's no easy answer, no one size fits all solution. But I think the key is to always start with that human reader in mind.
Okay.
What do they need? What's the best way to present this information? How can I make it clear, concise, and engaging?
Okay, so focus on the human reader first, and then think about how you can layer in those optimizations for AI without compromising that experience.
Exactly.
But the big question on everyone's mind, I think, is what happens next? What happens if AI becomes the main way that people are getting information?
Yeah, it's a big question, and I think Ferri-Benedetti really wants us to think about that in his article. It's kind of like, looking into a crystal ball. We don't know for sure, but we can make some educated guesses.
Okay, so let's put on our futurist hats here for a second.
hmm
What do you think? Like, are we all going to be replaced by robots? Should we be like looking for new jobs?
I don't think we need to worry about robot overlords just yet, but I do think that the role of the technical writer is going to change. Like imagine a world where LLMs can instantly personalize documentation for each user. They can pull the information that's relevant from like a vast knowledge base and present it in a way that makes sense for that specific person and their needs.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. But where does the human writer fit into that picture?
Well, I think our focus is going to shift. Instead of writing static documents, we're going to be creating these dynamic, interconnected content ecosystems. We'll be more like information architects,
Oh,
designing systems that allow AI to do the heavy lifting of assembling and delivering content.
so more like content strategists, curators, maybe even AI trainers.
Yeah, exactly. We'll need to like really understand how AI works,
Yeah.
how to optimize content for these different systems. And we'll need to think about the user experience too. How do you make it intuitive and engaging even when it's being mediated by AI?
It sounds like there are going to be a lot of new skills to learn,
Definitely.
but also some really interesting new opportunities to explore.
Absolutely.
What can we do, like right now? What are some concrete steps we can take today to start preparing for this AI-driven future?
I think the most important thing is to just, stay curious, keep learning, familiarize yourself with some of the basic concepts and terminology, and just play around,
Hmm.
experiment with some of these AI tools that are out there, see how they interact with different types of content. Start thinking about like how you can apply those principles of structured content, semantic clarity to your existing documentation. Look for ways to make it more modular, more interconnected. Think about metadata.
So it's like laying the groundwork now, even though we don't know exactly what the future holds.
Exactly. The more we can do to like make our content machine readable, the more adaptable we'll be. And remember, those skills that make us good technical writers, clear communication, empathy, attention to detail, those are always going to be valuable. It doesn't matter how technology changes.
So thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll be back next time with another fascinating topic. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep writing amazing documentation.